Hey everybody, Dawn Zoldi here. Welcome back to the Dawn of Drones. As we round out 2022, this is one of my favorite episodes. I mean, we had so many great ones all year long, but this is the time where we really get to pick the brains of a whole host of industry leaders to reflect back on this year and discuss, in their opinion, what they think is, were some of the most significant developments in the drone industry, and then to look forward and kind of project or predict what they think is going to happen, what we're going to see in 2023. So enjoy the show. Happy holidays and Happy New Year. Hey everybody, here with Lacey Wean from Carahsoft. She is in charge, amongst other things, of their UAS line card. So Lacey, great to have you back.
Yeah, thanks, Dawn. Glad to be here.
So for those that didn't know, Carahsoft sponsored a Carahsoft Partner Series throughout this year. It was really incredible. Great companies like Black Swift Technologies and Air Agility, amongst others. And so, Lacey, we just have a couple questions for you. We're gathering all the leaders from this year to ask them these two things. First, as you look back on 2022, what would you say was one of the most kind of interesting things you observed about the industry?
Yeah, so looking back on 2022, I would say that the biggest thing is just the innovation in the drone industry. So not only with the technology and some of the disruptive technology that these companies are coming out with and have come out with over the last year, but even some innovation and changes in how the government is using drones. So the biggest thing we've seen is just the incorporation of drones into daily operations for government agencies. So specifically, across the Department of Defense, across state and local government, and a ton of use cases around the law enforcement space as well.
Awesome. And again, for those that don't know, Carahsoft is a B2B IT reseller and aggregator for primarily government, so federal, state, local, tribal, territorial. And so that's where Lacey's head's at. And so when she speaks about what she's seeing in the government, she's speaking with authority. So that's awesome perspective. Thank you. And so, Lacey, as you look forward to 2023, what's your prediction on how the industry might change?
Yeah, so my prediction for 2023 is that we're going to see a lot of changes in the way that the government is procuring drones. So one being that, in comparison to the last couple of years, we've got a lot more TA compliant drones that are available and that are out there on the market and that are, really, really great products that the government can use. So one being the availability of products, the additional funding that we're seeing coming from the government for their drone related operations and drone related programs. And then just the use of the ability to use various contract vehicles that are traditionally used for traditional IT purchases, seeing a lot more drone related, not only drones themselves, but the related software and services become available in those contracts as well.
Well, that's awesome. And folks out there, if you're interested in learning more about Carahsoft, Lacey, how do they reach you?
So you can quickly reach our team at drones@carahsoft.com, and we hope to hear from all of you.
All right, awesome. Hey, happy holidays and Happy New Year. Hey, everybody. I'm here with Chris Corgnati. He's the president of MissionGO. And Chris, so great to have you back on the show.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't believe it's the end of the year. You guys just sponsored incredible month of November dedicated to global industry leaders, and really appreciate you. So here we are. Let's look back on 2022. As you reflect on this past year, what would you say was the one greatest development for the industry?
Yeah. When you first asked me the question, I immediately started thinking about technology, right? I was like, all right, what's the greatest leap forward? Is it a sensors, an aircraft? And I didn't really hit on any specific thing. And I said, well, what's noteworthy? And I go, well, we finally got a type cert for a small UAS, right? So that's a pretty significant milestone. Then I was like, well, we still don't know what that really means, right? So yes, it's a step forward, but what can I do that I couldn't do before now that I have a type cert? So once we start getting those answers, I think that will be obviously a very significant advancement. But then I was thinking, what really had the biggest impact on the industry? And I really think it's the economy and the markets, quite honestly. When you talk to CEOs and presidents around the industry, it's like, the VC world, dried up, late spring, early summer.
Right.
Interest rates have continued to go up. The capital markets have, not shut down, but trying to raise capital in any form, whether it's debt or in the equity markets, is pretty difficult right now. And I think it's affecting a lot of people's ability to scale and go after things that they want to do. So I think, and that'll sort of lead into my second answer of what I think is going to happen in 23. But I think that's had a huge impact on the industry that we probably don't fully realize yet.
Wow. And to your earlier point, I think you're talking about Matternet there with the type cert. And big news, they actually just got also a production cert. So they're going to be firing up production. So that was like the next wave of approvals for them. And again, I'm one of the first in the industry. So big news there this year. Totally agree. Hope to see more in line behind them getting these approvals. But kind of a bummer what you're saying about the money and kind of how that's flowing or not so much. So alluded to the question, I'm going to go ahead and ask it. So what is your prediction for 2023?
Yeah, luckily MissionGO is in a great spot. So we you and I have talked about the contract we won, so we're in a great spot financially going forward. But I think you're going to see a lot of consolidation across the industry, because I think there are a lot of good companies with good products and services that are going to be struggling for capital and aren't going to be able to scale and do the things that they want. They're going to make them attractive targets for acquisition for the folks that are sitting on a little bit of money. So I would expect a pretty heavy M&A workload or a lot of M&A happening in 23. I think there'll be some natural consolidation, and there'll be winners and losers, and as we shake out, we'll see who's going to go forward.
Yeah, I think that's kind of almost a natural order of things, isn't it, Chris? We saw it with especially in technology, right? So we've seen this in the automotive industry, a whole bunch of companies, and it's like Ford, Chrysler. Now, of course, with EVs, there's new ones popping up, and like you said, we'll see who's the last man or woman standing. But no, all great insights, really. Really appreciate your perspective, and thankful for you and MissionGO. Really wish you happy holidays and a wonderful new year.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
All right, we're out here.
Take care.
Hey everybody, we've got John Damush here from Iris Automation, and if you guys recall, Iris sponsored the month of March on the podcast, which is dedicated to industry diversity. So thanks so much for that, John. And
of course,
that seems like eons ago. Here we are in December now, and as you look back over the year, what jumps out at you as being maybe one of the greatest advancements or achievements in the industry this year?
Yeah, I think so. My answer to this is that time will tell if this really truly is one of the big advancements or great things of the year. But I think one of the largest events certainly had to be the BVLOS ARC report, because I think that's the first time that you've gotten a pretty wide swath of industry together, discussing the issues for the better part of 9 months, and then producing a formal document for the FAA that basically gives them fuel. It gives them ideas, it gives them support, it gives them a whole bunch of things I think the regulator was really missing.
Right.
So, it's hard to find any other single thing in this year that stands out as potentially being as significant as the delivery of the ARC report. We'll see, time will tell how the FAA, inputs that meat into the grinder and creates sausage out the back end.
Right.
But, early signs I've seen are positive, and that, I've been in several discussions, both, official discussions as part of the Beyond program, unofficial discussions. The content that's in there is certainly giving the FAA a lot of tools that they didn't have before. So I'd have to say that goes down as probably my input to the single biggest thing of 2022.
Well, it's great input. I know you were intimately involved in that. So thank you for your service, really. I know that was by no means an easy task, but maybe this is a great segue then into the next question, which is and I hope we see something come from the BVLOS ARC next year, but what's your prediction for 2023?
Yeah, I don't think we're magically going to see a BVLOS rule. This takes time, so sorry, spoiler. But what I will say is I think 2023 is going to be a steadily maturing year for our industry. And I've already seen signs of it this year. You're seeing consolidation around specific use cases that really do deliver value. You're seeing operators mature in their thinking of ConOps. Where's the juice worth the squeeze in terms of the effort you're going to put into standing up a drone operation and what you're going to get out of it.
Right.
And I think that's also helping with the interface with the regulator. I think industry has gotten to a point now where they understand where a lot of the hesitancy and the resistance has come from. But at the same time, I've also seen movement on the regulator side. The regulator absolutely has no requirement to move at the speed of industry.
Right.
That's not their job, but they want to. And so I think these things are starting to come together in a really fruitful way for our business. I think, unfortunately, we're still going to see some failures. We're going to see some people withdraw. I mean, probably the biggest one this year that was probably most notable was Kitty Hawk.
Yes, that was huge. Yeah.
But standing at range and both being, involved with a lot of people involved with that, it kind of makes sense, in a lot of different ways. And that doesn't mean that group's out of the game. It just means that what they were doing then at Kitty Hawk now is not the right time. So we'll see how that bakes out. But I think we're going to see more of that. I think we're going to see more consolidation of smaller players, but I think we're also going to see some growth of key players in the industry that have found a way to deliver value and deliver it safely.
Awesome. Well, I know Iris is going to be in the mix, so keep doing what you're doing. I know you guys had a great year, and thank you for everything. Have a wonderful holiday, and very happy
you, Dawn, for all
New
that
Year.
you do for the industry. You really are a pioneering and a champion voice for our industry, and frankly, a friendly face for all of us geeks that are trying to make plastic fly. So thanks for doing all that you do. We really do enjoy our partnership and what you do and in all of your different you're almost like Ryan Seacrest in the number of jobs you have.
Oh God.
I feel like maybe you're chasing him, but yeah, nice job. Thanks for
That's funny. All right, well, thank you so much and Happy New Year.
Sure thing. You too. See you.
Hey everybody, we've got Don, the Weather Don Bechoff, CEO of TruWeather Solutions with us. Don sponsored not just one, but 2 months this year on the Dawn of Drones podcast. April, which was Thought Leaders Month, and also October, where we got together with Tom Swoyer out there at Grand Sky and in Grand Forks, North Dakota, talked about the Meteor drone and all the crazy things we're doing out there with the first statewide weather service. So Don, so great to have you back.
Well, thanks, Dawn. I really love your energy. The holidays are coming. It's a great way to wrap up the year to talk about, what's happening, where we're going. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So great segue. Let's talk about that. As you look back on this year, what and you reflect on it, what do you see as kind of one of the greatest things that impacted the industry in 2022?
Well, I would like to see faster progress, right? I think, progress has been incremental. I think we've made, overall from the policy perspective, we've made progress. I'd like to see more airspace opened up, right? It's good for my weather business. We saw a lot of use of drones in natural disaster response and recovery this year.
We did.
I'm watching, yeah. So I'm watching, what the public safety is doing with drones. I'm looking at the emergency managers. We're going to be going down to North Carolina and talking to folks and helping them maybe next year with natural disasters on the eastern shore, in North Carolina.
Right.
So I like that. I like seeing that use of these drones because, you can find people faster. You can have that response quicker. I think also I'm seeing a lot of advanced air mobility is became, I think, more front and center in my mind this year. We're starting to talk more about middle mile drone delivery and heavier lift cargo delivery, which probably in some ways might be a good place to go in some sense. And so for weather and for us, that's exciting, right?
Yeah.
And I also, in the vertiport arena and the eVTOL arena, we saw some good movement with some certifications. We're also working, TruWeather's been busy this year, actually helping in design and infrastructure development around vertiports. People are starting to think about that. States are starting to invest in it. States
Yes.
are, what I really think is encouraging the states, you're starting to see the states really, take command and control of this. If you think about, some of the states like North Carolina, sorry about that, Dawn, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, New York, Virginia, Florida, we're seeing a lot of investment starting. I think we're going to see more in the legislatures next year, more for investment in infrastructure. So, while I would like to see more flying and more open airspace, we're making progress. I suppose these are all important steps in getting to someplace better.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, you kind of alluded to it, but what do you predict for 2023? You talked a little bit about infrastructure and maybe increased investment there. What else are you predicting for next year?
Well, I'd love to predict that, we would see more.
That's true. Or shall I say, weather guy, forecast for next year?
I would tell you my weather forecast is a lot better than trying to forecast this industry. And
That's true.
We're going to get some open airspace. But I think seeing more broad BV loss operations would be nice, right? I mean, I think if we can see by the end of the year or in the second part of next year, maybe with the rules committee, some of the work that was done there start to manifest itself in some real room to allow us to fly some BV loss. Not always under waiver and under constraint.
Right.
I think we'll see more of that by the end of the year. We're gearing up for that because, as you know, weather, when it comes to beyond visual line of sight, the weather is going to become very, very, even more critical.
Right.
I think manned air taxis using eVTOLs. I think 2024 is going to be a year that we might start seeing some of that. I know recently, you probably read about Archer and
I was there. I was
Okay.
there for the Maker's first transition flight and saw the big reveal of midnight. And I'm telling you, Don, I got chills because it was just like, this is real. I've seen these aircraft in pictures, and to see this thing, and it is sleek, and then to see the Maker fly, live, man, that was cool.
Well, I think you're going to see that. And I think we're going to see some testing for advanced air mobility with some serious, heavier lift cargo flights to see, I'm sure those are going to come about. And for TruWeather, what we're looking at is we're going to be ready. I mean, we're going to have the next level of weather capabilities. We're testing now these novel sensors. The standards next year are going to be, I think, signed off. We're going to get those through ASTM F38 for data performance standard.
Great.
I'm going to NASA next. We're going down to NASA Langley next week. We're having a really big powwow between, I know this sounds geeky, but between all the research entities in weather, in the FAA, in NASA, in the Air Force, coming together, and TruWeather will be there, and trying to align a roadmap to get us all working towards the same effect, which is getting these standards out, testing them, and allowing us to crowdsource weather data, which is really going to close a lot of weather gaps, and get some infrastructure out there. And you're going to see us out there doing some testing, getting out we have some customers we're working with and partners where we might see us set up a test area for commercial weather sensing infrastructure, commercially invested,
Cool.
and testing those business models. So I think, we're going to be ready. And I'm just hoping we'll see more, more of this airspace open up.
I think you will too. And great conversation as always. Great look back, great forecast of the future. And Don, I'm wishing you and your team and by the way, everybody, 7-year anniversary for TruWeather this year. A lot of people don't know that. So happy anniversary, happy holidays, happy new year. Looking forward to working with you more next year.
Oh, I can't wait. It's going to be fun as always. Thanks.
Out here. Hey everybody, Don Zolda here. I'm with Fred Bivetto, Lieutenant Colonel, United States Air Force retired, by the way, who is with the Sonoran Desert Institute. SDI actually sponsored the month of June, dedicated to emerging industry leaders, and has been doing just great things. Had your first classes graduate this year. I mean, what an amazing year you all have had, actually. So welcome back. And Fred, I want to ask you, as you look back on this year, on the industry, what would you say was maybe one of the greatest accomplishments or milestones that the industry hit this year?
Well, I think it has so much promise. When we were flying drones and over the country and test flying them and using sensors in the military, now we're starting to see it bleed over, and you're starting to see really the full potential. So I believe there hasn't been big revolutions in terms of anything brand new in technology, but now we're starting to see that bleed over from defense sector to commercial sector, right? And that's, the big things I think are beyond visual line of sight, which the military has been doing remote split operations for a long time. When you apply that to commerce like Walmart, Target, Amazon, that is going to be exciting to see that impact on the economy. Another big thing, we focus right in the Air Force. We don't fly planes, we fly systems, right? Major systems. So the big thing for me that I really highlight is, and I took a little note here, the automatic interpretation of aerial imagery materials, and software processing, product analysis of photogrammetric data processing. Things like that, where now it's not just flying a drone anymore and taking a picture. It's how does the software help you automatically analyze this volumes and volumes of data and give useful information or sellable information to the user and to the business, the GIS environment. So I'm excited to see both the beyond visual line of sight and the FAA getting on board and getting the sense and avoid, see and avoid safety so that we can do this and fly drones all over. But also I'm big into, I've seen systems now where people are not just selling drones, they're selling the software, the remote sensing, and then the post-flight analysis software. And that's where I see big gains in the industry. We're starting to see that really be huge in terms of thermography, photogrammetric softwares, and all things. One real last thing, I'm from New York, and a big problem here, and I did some research on a specific example. Waste disposal is a big thing in New York, right? We ship our garbage out to states outside of New York City. Now they're starting to use for waste disposal sites that same exact thing. Photogrammetric analysis, automatic of the landfill, getting volumetric data for the environment, and then being able to manage waste properly. So things like that, like a specific example, and of course package delivery are the big things that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I mean, just like you said, so many niches popped up, right? And I agree with you 100%. It's all about the data, and you've just seen this explosion of big data and analysis this year. I would totally agree. So, Fred, looking forward to 2023, what's your prediction? What do you think we're going to see in the industry?
Well, I know this. I'm the kind of person where I am now in the private sector, and I love to see the economy benefit. Taking advantage of that free market opportunities to bring jobs, and I really feel that. But I also understand the FAA's perspective. So I'm one of those people where I see the balance. The FAA's prime objective is to protect people and property in the ground, and we can't be throwing thousands of drones in the air without the proper maturity level of technology. And I think maybe the sophistication of the system and the operator or the overall human manager that intervenes when things don't go right. So I'm really looking forward to how industry and the FAA going to work together to ensure that public safety and protection of property, but yet still not hold back this potential huge revolution, I think, in both package delivery and, like I said, photogrammetric thermography analysis applied to all these different sectors. So that's what I'm eager to see, is how fast can we move without being too risky? And I understand both sides have to, give way a little bit.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. And listen, happy holidays. Have a wonderful new year. Hopefully I'll see you at CES again this year. SDI had a huge presence because they came out of the gate, guns blazing, no pun, because the school originally involved armorers. And so anyway, really great to see you again, Fred. Tell the whole team we said hello, and we are out here. Hey everybody, I'm here with Toni Drummond, who is the CEO of Global Aerial Management Group. Toni and her group sponsored the month of September on the Dawn of Drones podcast this year. It was dedicated to incredible market use cases. And Toni, so great to see you again.
Hi, Dawn. Thanks for having me back.
Of course, of course. I know so much has happened with Global Aerial and you personally this year, all kinds of things, promo drone and big announcement with the Draganfly and Volatus infrastructure. The list goes on and on and on. But as you look back on the industry, Toni, this year, what would you say was the one greatest accomplishment or achievement that you saw?
I'm going to talk personally about what I've been able to really focus on this past year. So Global Aerial Management Group, I'll just put out there, we celebrated our second anniversary yesterday. The November 30th was the second anniversary of that drone/emerging tech company that has spawned into something fantastic. And what we've been able to really pull together, Dawn, from my perspective, coming from a deep aviation background that I have, and integrating that with the knowledge I've gained from UIS, and then also the eVTOL and the electric sustainable aviation goals, that's really what I saw come together this year. I see a real beautiful focus on how we are going to change what we're currently doing into something better by using all of these different techniques, not just sustainable aviation fuel or drone usage to replace. We're talking about an entire ecosystem of how to change the way that we are mobile and the way that we travel within the airspace. So I have a lot of great ideas personally, and just collaborations of lots of things and people that we've talked to over the past even 12 months that are really going to start to pin together when 2023 comes around. So I'm losing sleep at night because I'm excited. You know me.
Oh, I know you. And, honestly, Toni, you're a microcosm of the larger industry, because what you're talking about there is kind of this, and we've heard this from others on the show, is the collaborations that are forming, right? All the different groups that are coming together to create, like you said, an ecosystem. It's super exciting. So looking forward then to 2023, what's your prediction? Like, what do you expect to see next year?
I'm going to sit here in 2023 and start talking to you next year about all of the physical lives that we've saved by putting all this infrastructure together, by putting all these beginning baby steps of what we're going to be able to do in order to start applying the sustainable response infrastructure, and what we're coining that phrase of really coming together and creating infrastructure that can sustain the future when we're talking about EMS and safety and search and rescue, all of that. So my goal for next year is to sit here and talk to you about all the different collaborations that came together and started to piece that together with the FAA, with all of the entities out there that are here to make decisions. It's time for people to start applying all their research and putting it into action on little baby steps that are safe.
Well, absolutely. And you're not the first one, by the way, Toni, to talk about kind of that public safety emergency management use case on this show as a big win for next year, continuing to kind of bloom and grow, whether drone is first responders or let's just say EVAC for those that haven't heard about it. That's something Toni and her team, her ecosystem partners are working on. So anyway, so great to have you back on the show, Toni. Thank you for everything you do for the industry. You've been such a breakout voice, not just in drones, but in advanced air mobility and, of course, general aviation. You know, you bridge all three worlds, and to be able to speak to the different groups and bring them together as I've seen you do, it's really unique and phenomenal. And I can't wait to watch what you do in 2023. So happy New Year, happy
Thank
holidays, and we're going to keep watching. Keep watching Toni
Same.
Drummond. Hey everybody, we've got with us here Tom Swoyer. He's from Grand Sky in North Dakota. And if you missed this podcast in October, go back and watch it. It was absolutely incredible. So many great things happening, not just at Grand Sky, but in the whole state of North Dakota. I love that place. And Tom, so many things happening in North Dakota and on your campus. But as you look back on this past year, what would you say was the best development or most significant development in the industry?
You know, Dawn, I was really thinking about that question beforehand and really went back through a lot of different things. And I have an answer for you. It's not very sexy and it's not very awesome. I think it's very awesome. But to me, one of the biggest developments of 2022 was the release of the FAA's engineering plans for vertiports.
That's cool. That's sexy.
Well, I think it can be. I think it will be. But you know, the industry has been talking about advanced air mobility for so long now, and we're really starting to see some companies that are really advancing the ball, like Archer and Joby and some others are really pushing things forward. And but the industry's not going to work until we have a place to land and pick people up and drop them off.
Agreed.
So that's really got to be it. And so the FAA's release of those engineering standards gives us all a chance to kind of look at that. It helps communities understand what they may need to do to enable this capability. It gives the OEMs an understanding of who they need to partner with. And it gives groups like Grand Sky an opportunity for us to be able to say, okay, how do we build something that supports that kind of environment so people can test on it? So it's maybe not the coolest aircraft out there or something, but to me, the release of those rules is really something special for the industry.
No, you know, you're not the first person, Tom, to mention the word infrastructure in this show. You know, vertiports are a significant piece of infrastructure, as you said, for advanced air mobility. And you're right, that was absolutely a milestone that occurred this year. So thanks for sharing that. I love hearing everybody's different perspectives. And as you look forward then to next year, what do you think, what do you expect to see in the industry?
I expect to see, so I think 2023 is going to be pretty explosive in terms of growth and paradigm shift in terms of hype has to turn into reality in 2023.
Yeah.
I think that, and I am as much to blame as anybody, but I think that there's a lot of hype in the industry, a lot of talk about what will be, and we're doing this and we're doing that. And you realize that, you know, maybe you're not really doing it, but you're getting closer.
Right.
But I'm starting to see some real stuff out there. I'm starting to see groups like One Sky really start to put forth some really interesting technology. I'm seeing, we happen to be working with Thales on our beyond line of sight capabilities. And there's a lot of different things. So for me, what I think in 2023 is that hype turns into reality, but pulling the page out of what I said, what I liked about 2022 and infrastructure, which is near and dear to my heart, I think we're going to start to see real infrastructure development happening. I think we're going to start to see real bricks and mortar, advanced air mobility type infrastructure really happening. I know we at Grand Sky are going to be investing very heavily in that regard. And so I think that's where 2023 really starts to create a new shape.
Awesome. Well, everybody out there, keep your eyes riveted on Grand Sky, North Dakota, because I have no doubt if Tom says it's going to happen on his watch and on his campus. So, Tom, thank you again. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful holiday season and a happy new year. We're going to be watching for you in 2023.
Thank you very much. Happy holidays to you too, Don. Thanks again.
Everybody, we have with us Glen Lynch, the CEO of Volatus Aerospace. And for those that have been watching the Dawn of Drones all year long, you may have noticed the Volatus sponsored an annual endowment series across the whole entire year called the Volatus Above and Beyond series. And so we had so many great guests. Glen, thank you so much because you really made the show great and just really highlighted how Volatus is trying to elevate the entire industry. So thank you for that.
It was a privilege to be part of it, Don. Thank you.
Absolutely. So Glen, so much going on with Volatus and the ever-growing, as you call it, Volatusphere this year. But as you kind of look back over the whole year, what would you say was one of the most significant developments for the entire industry?
Boy, there's a lot of exciting things this year. I'd probably pick two out. First would be the FAA Advanced Rulemaking Committee when they published their suggestions for beyond visual line of sight. I think that's critical in the regulatory process to ultimately facilitate regular daily beyond visual line of sight. That's ultimately the step that's going to unlock the real potential of drones. And when you combine this with the efforts of the civil aviation authorities around the world, we're getting a lot closer. Hopefully more of that in 2023. But I would say what gets me most excited, or what got me most excited, was the growing industrial use cases and accelerating adoption we're seeing across all industries. Each year, this continues to multiply as the value proposition is proven and demonstrated by our industry. I think those would probably be the two that I'd pick.
Yeah, Glen, I think you're right on both accounts. And to your second point, they say niches make riches, and you've seen drones cropping up in really interesting areas, right? Where industry is embracing the technology in novel ways. So I think it's been a really cool year to watch that grow. So looking forward to 2023, what's your prediction?
Well, I think 2023 is going to be awesome. That's all I can say. If we want to look at it statistically, Markets has suggested that we can expect a combined annual growth rate approaching 17% across the board. So I think everybody expects to see a strong year in civil aviation for drones. In the area of defense, unfortunately, it's the conflict in Ukraine that's hyper-stimulated the drone industry. And while everybody prays that conflict will end soon, the impact of drones in Ukraine has forever changed the way that countries around the world view the use of drones in modern warfare. I think it's the first time we've ever seen drones used to provide visual intelligence at this kind of scale. And ultimately, militaries around the world are actively revisiting their integration strategy for drones in their overall military strategy. So I think it's going to be a great year for both civil and military markets in the drone industry.
Yeah, I just saw a recent headline. I think it said that, the world's first drone war. And, it's been really interesting. And then you're right, the nexus between what we're seeing on the battlefield and then how that's, the secondary effect is launching so many commercial cases as well. So great year. And Glen, thank you so much. Looking forward also to it. I think, as you said, awesome 2023. So thank you again. Happy holidays and Happy New Year.
Happy holidays and best wishes for the new year, Don. See you soon.
See you soon. Everybody, we've got with us here now Tom Furey, the CEO of Sagetech Avionics. Sagetech sponsored this month, which is the best of 2022 because why? Sagetech kind of is the best of 2022. If you missed Tom's podcast and Clubhouse, go back and listen and watch them on demand. Really great stuff. So Tom, great year for you guys, but also arguably for the entire industry in many respects. Looking back on 2022, what would you say was the greatest or best development in the industry?
So I'm going to tweak that a little bit because I'm not going to do some sort of technology development. For me, the best development or the best thing that happened this year is the defined certification baseline for eVTOL aircraft. Even though there have been fits and starts to get there, I think we have a path to certification to future eVTOL flight in national airspace.
Well, awesome. You're the first and only person that said that. Now we're going to be interviewing a couple others still, but no, that's great stuff, because you're right. It was a little controversial. I think some folks felt like maybe there was a little bit of an about face that they were going down one path and then the rules got changed. But you're right. Hey, at least now there's certainty. So onward and upward, no pun intended. So speaking of which, what do you see happening in 2023? What's your prediction?
I'm going to follow along those same lines, but as we talked about earlier today, as a matter of fact, I think the BVLOS ARCS findings, which were released and commented on, etc., I expect that the FAA will have some level of definition next year for routine BVLOS flight. So what it takes to get that approved without ongoing waiver after waiver. And I think the industry has given them all the input they need. The technology has evolved in such a way that supports all that. And I think we'll have a year where we finally start to see a path to routine flight beyond line of sight.
Well, I hope you're right, Tom. We did have, I'm not going to say who, we had one naysayer earlier said, don't expect to see that. But I hope we see something, even if it's just a little bite out of the elephant, right? Like you get a 400-page report with like countless hundreds of recommendations, just even actioning a handful of those will make a difference to people, right? So it just depends on what those are. But I'm with you. I hope so too. But in the meantime, Tom, happy holidays, happy New Year, and thanks again.
Happy New Year and happy holidays to you too, Dawn, and thanks for having me on, and good luck in 2023, everyone.
Out here. Hey everybody, we have with us the incredible Miriam McNabb of DroneLife. Miriam, welcome to the podcast again.
Thanks so much.
And I think everybody knows DroneLife has been such a wonderful partner to us. We're so thankful for this year and 2021 as well. So thank you for supporting this podcast. It's been such a joy, and really appreciate you. So
thank you so much. Likewise.
So Miriam, for where you sit, I mean, you are, if not one of the leading news outlets for the drone industry, and you've been sitting on a perch watching everything happening for the last several years, but this year in particular. So as you look back on 2022, what would you say is the one most significant development that happened this year?
I gotta say, this was finally the year that drone delivery actually happened. And I know that we've kind of said that different years, every year it's like, oh, drone delivery. But this year, where you see DroneUp putting hubs in the parking lots of Walmart stores, and spreading it out to 6 more states. This is the year this actually happened. And, Google's doing their stuff in Australia. They brought more of it over to the US. We've got Zipline working in the US. We've got Flytrex working in the US. We've got Amazon getting their aircraft type certified and then coming out with another new model aircraft and also implementing in 2 different communities. I would have to say that this is the year. It's been since like 2013 that I've been talking about drone delivery, but this year there was actually people getting their hamburger helper delivered to their porch by drone.
You're right, Miriam. I mean, there's just been this kind of explosive growth of this. It started, we talked about this before, it started with COVID, the ultimate social distancer. And it's just, I think that was kind of the catalyst that, catapulted the drone delivery into 2022. And then you just saw that exponential growth throughout the year. So super exciting. Totally agree. So looking into your crystal ball, for 2023, what are you thinking? What do you think's going to happen?
Gosh, well, 2023, I have to say that I think is going to be the automation year. And hear me out, because I know everybody's sick of the word automation too. But when we're talking about that real holy grail of I can put a drone 1,000 miles away, a drone in a box solution, I can operate it from my central office, I can be operating 10 of them at once and managing different sites. I can utilize these for kind of drones as first responder, for surveying, for surveillance, or for security, or for whatever I'm doing it. And I think that is actually where we were with drone delivery a year ago, right? We're seeing those first waivers come through. We're seeing those first permissions. The technology's definitely there. We're seeing some larger implementations overseas. We've got Dubai, implementing large drone in a box solutions throughout the city for drones as first responder. We've got Israeli police using automated drones as first responder. We've got a lot of this going on. I think we're almost there.
Yep.
And next year is going to be the year it happens in a more widespread manner, where you can really do those remote, beyond visual line of sight. I'm in my office over here and the drone is operating where it needs to be out there.
Yeah, we were talking to John Damush earlier, Miriam, and he was saying that some of these drone as drone as first responder pilots are up on the roof in Phoenix, like 115 degrees. So I hope you're right, because we got to get those people off of roofs. We got to get them in the op centers. We got to get them using multiple, like monitoring multiple drones at one time. And make that happen in 2023. So I'm with you, and I really hope it's going to come to pass. So
I think
we
we're
shall
gonna
see
it done. We're gonna.
All right. Well, same time next year we'll be having this conversation again, and hopefully we'll be looking back and saying, I predicted this, and it's true. It was true. So anyway, in the meantime, Miriam, wishing you and Harry and the whole family Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year.
You also. Thanks so much for everything this year, and best of luck in 2023.
Thank you. We're out here. Hey, everybody. We've got with us Cameron Chell, the CEO of Draganfly. Cam kicked off the year on the drone, the dawn of, oh gosh, Mike, I got to redo it. Sorry about that. Okay. I'll start again. Dawn of Drones. Can't remember my own podcast. All right, 1, 2, 3. Hey everybody, Dawn Zoldi here, and I'm with Cameron Chell, CEO of Draganfly. Cam kicked off a great year, 2022, with us on the Dawn of Drones. It was phenomenal. I think you were breaking records, not only in our clubhouse, but also on the podcast. Spectacular show. And I know you've had a huge year there at Draganfly, Cam. I've been watching, seeing you guys at shows, 3 new drones you've released, involved in the Ukraine. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But as you look back this year on the industry, what would you say was maybe one of the most significant developments in 2022?
Yeah. Well, so first and foremost, thank you for an amazing year and everything that you've done for the industry. You guys just bring such an incredible energy and importance to everything that you do and how you represent all of us. So thank you for that. And I'm sure your other guests or whatever that you've asked this, they all have their own perspective. So certainly my view is biased, but I would say 100% in my opinion, it's Ukraine. Ukraine has demonstrated a total and complete shift in airspace usage and the role of small UAS. And I think as impactful as it has been over the last year, the ramifications and implications of such over the coming years, internationally and domestically, in terms of regulations, usage, training, technology, will bear out very, very quickly. But in my opinion, I've never seen anything so impactful as that theater and what has happened there and the role that drones has played.
Well, right. And I think most people, when they think of Russia and Ukraine, they think of kinetic, right? Like lethal strikes. But you know what? You were doing humanitarian missions with your drones, right? Your folks I've worked with a number of nonprofits to train people, bringing blood and critical medical supplies to the battlefield. And I agree, Cam, like that changes the game for, soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, people on the battlefield, to have a drone that can do rapid resupply of those kind of critical things. So I agree. It's been sad that it happened, but very eye-opening in the different use cases and how really drones have changed the face of warfare. So looking forward into 2023, what's your projection? Like, what are you thinking is going to be the next big thing?
Yeah, I think the big thing or the theme through 2023 will be the shifting of budgets, primarily at a government level, from larger platforms, larger airworthy platforms, whether they're drones, whether they're airlines, whatever the case is, and more emphasis being put towards smaller platforms. As evidenced again in Ukraine, air dominance has always been, basically a key to achieving, an objective.
Right.
And air dominance is usually decided by who has the bigger budget, the bigger, infrastructure, the more established processes, et cetera, et cetera. And what Ukraine has now demonstrated is that 10,000 feet down, air dominance is not about big platforms anymore. Air dominance is about, it's still about coordinated missions, but it's about, how many assets do you have and how many are trained well and how many can coordinate with each other. And these are 10 and 20 and 30 and $50,000 systems. So what we've seen is a massive overnight shift. Finally, it's taken 15 years to get there, and now it's just tipped over where we're seeing decision makers going, wait a minute, this is way more effective than we could have thought. And in fact, there's no way to defend against not having air dominance unless you're in that space. And air dominance isn't just about at that pointy end of the spear and lethalness. It's also, as you mentioned, so important about logistics, coordination, mapping, survey, delivery, mine detection, humanitarian supply, civil support, emergency response services. Like, it's all now can be done at a fraction of the cost of what was comparatively being contemplated before. And so I think we're going to continue to really see a push towards these types of budgets, and we'll come up with a better word than air dominance. I mean, that's the language right now, but the sphere of 10,000 feet down really now is going to be populated, in my opinion, by small UAS. And it's an unfortunate situation, but Ukraine has demonstrated that, and the importance of having air dominance with small UAS.
Yeah, I think so, Cam, and we'll see what happens. I think there's also implications for Homeland Security. You alluded to domestic issues, right? And so, but again, I think the good use cases, being able to show that like this can be done beyond visual line of sight. By the way, let's go there. Let's make that happen domestically, right? So hopefully, looking forward to a great year, another one, and wanted to wish you a happy holidays and a wonderful new year. Looking forward to seeing you again and working more with you in 2023.
You guys are amazing. Have a great one.
All right, see ya out here. Hey everybody, we're back and we're with Jason Crist. He is the CEO and founder of ClassG. ClassG and Jason sponsored the month of July this year on the Dawn of Drones, which was dedicated to innovation. If you missed that one, go back and check it out because it's super cool what he's doing in Aerospace. So Jason, welcome back.
Thanks for having me. Always good to be back.
Of course, of course. Now, speaking of back, let's look back. And as you do that, right, for this year, 2022, what would you say was one of the most significant developments in the industry this past year?
I think the most significant development, in my opinion, for this year is without a doubt promo drone.
Really?
Oh yeah, that's great. It has so many uses. The people building it are really good, and I'm looking forward to just seeing where they go with it. It's awesome.
Well, you know, it's funny. We had Jamar Williams on the show. I'm going to say it was March. It was our diversity month. And, you know, it was well in advance of when they just more recently announced a partnership with Draganfly to great focus on public safety. So they kind of went from this purely marketing posture with what they were doing with their technology, you know, the kind of the digital billboard, to, you know, public safety and emergency response, which I think is really, I believe they are the only ones that are doing two-way video communication with people. And you can imagine, and sadly, you know, it's too many natural and other disasters and needs for this technology, but the comfort that could bring people. So really cool. Thanks for saying that. So looking ahead, excuse me, to next year, what's your big prediction?
Well, we're going to have our prototype done in March, and I'm looking forward to May in your home state for off-season. That's going to be a good time. And then middle of the year, maybe the Wyoming courts figuring out the trespass for the ranchers and feral lands and things like that. So I think it's going to be a really good year.
Well, it's funny. Well, first of all, I'm excited that ClassG is moving forward, and we're going to see some. You know, would you say like Q2 right before AVSI Exponential?
Yes.
All right. Well, we will keep our eyes peeled. And then you mentioned like some lawsuits. I mean, this was kind of the year of lawsuits, wasn't it, Jason? When it came to certain, especially for intellectual property, things like Whisk versus Arrow, and we were just here today hearing that Boston Dynamics has sued Ghost Robotics, and you know, just I think we're going to see more of that. So you know, as regulations shake out, some of this IP stuff and the design stuff is getting shaken out, and at the end of the day, well, it'll all come out in the wash. And we'll figure out who's on top. But looking forward to watching ClassG, and again, have a happy holidays and incredible New Year, Jason.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Happy holidays to you as well.
Hey everybody, we've got Rob Menti from Northrop Grumman's Armaments Division. He is out in the field as usual. Retired Army Colonel, still doing it, and this time at Fort Sill. But Northrop Grumman sponsored the month of February on the Dawn of Drones, which was dedicated to dual-use technologies. And what a month it was. So thank you for that, Rob. Really appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time. I know you're super busy, and it's very hard to reach you out in the field. So, Rob, as you look back on this year, what was one of the largest or most significant developments you'd say for the drone industry in 2022?
Without a doubt, the beginning of the tragic events that have unfolded for February 2022. Obviously, that has hyper-accelerated all types of unmanned system activity, not only in the air, but in other domains. And obviously, the depth, breadth, and capacity of exchange that is happening is then adding to the acceleration that the coalition has to do to assist Ukraine in countering those threats provided by Russia, and then now, as we're seeing now, Iranian capabilities that the Russians are using in Ukraine. Over.
Yeah, absolutely, Rob. And as you look forward to 2023, what's your prediction?
Well, it's funny. I was just joking with the guys here. It's in the next year, the world is going to be out of ammunition. Just being facetious, but the amount of consumption of equipment, and not say directly the lives, but the equipment and the ammunition, both conventional ammunition as well as precision munitions, and also unmanned systems, is at a rate of consumption that we have not seen since World War II. And as we all know, the industrial bases, at least in the West, are not designed to replace at scale the amount of consumption that is happening in Ukraine. Obviously, Russia cannot do that either, as we've seen, not only because of the sanctions, but because of their industrial challenges are not able to meet the requirements as well, and that is obviously drawing down everyone's inventories. Over.
Wow. So, you're the first person to say that, Rob, and I know you say it with authority. What impact do you see then? Let's just get out of the military arena on the commercial side as a result of that.
Well, I mean, I hate to say this as a warfighter, because obviously for the families that have lost soldiers, Iranian or Russian, it's tragic for the families that have loss of life in this meaningless conflict that did not have to start. Is that there will be plenty of business for defense industries around the world for years to come to recover from this, and then additionally, because of the first time since World War II that there's been a state-on-state attack on the continent, that is going to drive spending around the world. So not only is it going to be to replace what is being expended currently, but also it is going to drive a round of defense-related services and equipment, a lot of which is also commercial technology that will be used in this space. Over.
Yeah, we've seen Defense Innovation Unit, right, really growing this year, the Blue UAS program. And then I just saw the Department of Defense opened up an Office of Capital something or other. I'm sorry, I don't have it at the tip of my tongue here, but to accelerate the funding, across that valley of death, if you will, for a lot of different emerging technologies. So I think you're on the money, no pun intended there, Rob. But hey, listen, thanks for what you do every day. Thanks for your sponsorship of this podcast, and wishing you, a joyful holiday and a happy new year.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, and we appreciate our relationship with your team. Over.
We are out here and over.